Hi, I'm Norman Perillo, a furniture designer maker at Perillo Design and a woodworking educator author at WoodSkills. So I typically use in my work, my furniture making, I'll use a number 4.5. This is a Lee Nielsen 4.5. I tend to pick this up as my user plane because it's adjusted and I'm familiar with it. Now, if you're going to invest in hand tools, try not to buy too many hand tools immediately. Do it over time so you have a better understanding of the correct tools you need for the type of work you do. And the familiarity also, because if you have fewer hand planes, don't look at what I have. I've just accumulated these over many, many years and I've restored several of them and that sort of thing. But if you're a beginning, you can maybe just invest in 3 or 4 hand planes and it'll be okay. The advantage to that is you become very familiar with the few hand planes you have. And that's important in woodworking because just picking up a hand plane that you're not familiar with could slow you down considerably. So again, this is a 4.5. This is my go-to plane for most of my smoothing. It's a Lee Nielsen. It's maybe 15 to 20 years old. It's a cherry handles and tote. I can take it apart and show you. This is a lever cap. This is a lever cap. This is the iron, fairly thick, at 3/16, if I'm not mistaken, and this is the cap iron. One of the advantages to high-end premium hand planes is the thickness of the iron and the cap iron. So that reduces chatter and all the side effects of having thinner blades. Another advantage to this particular premium plane is that it's a bedrock style, so I can adjust the frog. The frog holds the cap iron and the iron assembly. And I can adjust it without removing all that. I removed it now, but I could easily have adjusted or bring the frog forward or backward just from these 3 screws in the back here. A Bailey style, on the other hand, that I'll show you shortly, you need to remove it. You need to take it all apart, and the settings for the frog are within the assembly. So that's it's a little more time consuming, and I'll just put this back together. And this is the adjustment wheel. So this wheel, I'm not going to move it too much now, but it brings it decreases or increases the depth of the blade. And this is the lateral adjustment lever right here. This will, and I talk about this quite a bit in my woodworking course and my hand tool class and I really give good diagrams on how this works, but this will cock the blade over on the left or right so you can do some skewed work or take more off on one side or the other. So that's what I mean by becoming more familiar, having fewer hand tools and becoming really familiar with them. It's probably more to your advantage than just going out and buying a bunch of, the marketing people will tell you to purchase as many hand tools as you can of all sizes and orientations and styles, but that's really not as important as. So again, the frog adjustment will advance the blade towards the front. This is some wax I apply for gliding. And so it advances the iron towards the front of the mouth for tighter, smaller shavings, or retracts it for rougher, coarser work. So that's how easy it is to adjust that here. And the depth, of course, is done with the adjusting wheel. That's as simple as a tool as possible for doing considerable amount of woodworking. So I use a 4.5 for my smoothing and work, not preliminary processing of boards. And then I'll show you a number 3 I tend to pick up. This is a number 3, but it's a Bailey style. So if you're adjusting the frog, I'll just take this apart. See, notice it's smaller. What I just showed you is a 4.5, which is essentially a wide number 4. Number 3 is it's a beautiful plane. It's just this is as small as I go because you can't really get a good grip on the number 2 or number 1. The way to hold it is to have your fingers around the handle and then keep one finger outside and then control it with the knob here in the front for pressure. Not too much pressure, but this is a Bailey style and the adjustment is not in the back. Again, it's constructed the same way with a lever cap with the iron and cap iron. Now this particular record number 3 has been upgraded with a thicker hawk iron. You can buy these through Veritas, through Lee Valley. They're replacement irons. It comes as an assembly with the cap iron, and they're specific for different models of early Stanley and record planes. So again, it works the same way. The adjustment wheel will advance or retract the blade, and the lateral adjustment talks it to one side or the other. Again, look at the frog here. The frog adjustment screws are within the frog, so you really need to disassemble it to be able to advance and retract the frog. Now, having said that, I rarely ever move the frog, because once it's set, you tend to dial my hand planes into very tight shavings, and all I need to do is really advance or retract the blade for thicker or thinner shavings. So I don't really play with the frog much, but having the bedrock style, the Lee-Nielsen bedrock style, and the Veritas also has that style, is an advantage over Bailey style for that reason. And this again, if you look at the iron, it moves from left to right through my lateral adjustment, so you can do some fine adjustments doing it that way, and eyeball in the clearance so it's uniform. Eyeball the clearance in so it's uniform across the mouth through the lateral adjustment lever and the depth. So normally what I do is I retract the iron completely and begin hand planing, and then slowly advance it to where it's taking shavings off so it doesn't bite into the wood too much at the beginning. And I'll give an example of that. The example board I'm going to use is this board. So it's important, grain orientation is important when you're hand planing, so I always look at the side of the board, and I look for a rising grain. Now this is white oak, and okay, I think that's correct. And I'd like to talk about the work holding system I've developed here. I use a face vise in conjunction with this accessory that slides along the face vise and locks in. It's got a leather face, and I lock it into another similar type thing, but this one plugs in. It plugs in through a dog hole and locks it to the side so it doesn't pivot. Now, you don't necessarily have to use this. You can use a wooden bench, or wood bench dog. Do it that way, or maybe here. Depends on the length of the board. So you could use a bench dog, so let's just use a bench dog. So I'll try this. I haven't used this plane in a while, so I'll try some. By the way, I'm left-handed, so I have different setups for tail vise. I have a tail vise on this end. So if you're right-handed on this particular bench, which is built, it's symmetric on either side. You could use these attachments I've developed, or you can use this attachment. Because I'm left-handed, I tend to want to use this. But that's very fine. So I'll just advance it a little. These are very fine shavings. More substantial. I just advance the iron a little. So this is how I would finish the surface of a piece of wood. For this could be a rail of front rail of a cabinet stand, and as I apply some wax to the sole of the hand plane. You could use paraffin wax, a stick of paraffin wax, and this lasts forever. I've got 3 or 4 of these on the go in my workbenches, and I just wipe them across. But lately, I've begun to use this Veritas tool wax. So they're both similar, but this is a little more fine. So I just apply this to the sole. And that not only protects the sole, but it allows it to glide much smoother for a longer period of time. One of these tins will last I'd say a number of years. So it's so I keep it handy on my workbench. And I'll just show you. This is probably gonna go flying now. So it really helps with removing resistance, the tool wax. That's that point. I'll give you an example of doing the edge of the board also. So if I were jointing the edge, I'd lock it in the same way, similarly. This is probably so when you use hand planes, you'll find that through the just using it, you can advance or retract the adjustment wheel while you're hand planing. There's between strokes. So that's what I've been doing here. I'm actually these are super fine shavings. And that's, I guess you get the idea of work holding. So please subscribe to my YouTube woodworking channel, where I share more of my woodworking techniques, my woodworking philosophy, my thoughts on woodworking, and all the challenges I've experienced. And I introduce some of the new forms of woodworking I've discovered. And also visit woodskills.com, where I have a good selection of my books, both in print and digital format, on woodworking, and all my online courses. And I also offer some woodworking plans. I have maintained a regular blog on what I've got going on in my workshop and in woodworking in general. So enjoy.